Hello, everybody, and welcome to another My Music. Today, I get a twofer again because I have two people coming to see me today. I have Angie and her partner,
Husband, yes.
husband. Sorry, and I don't know your name either. So,
Joe.
Joe. Angie and Joe will be talking to me about music from their little den in their house, and we'll have a look around that in a minute if you stay tuned. But you need to just watch this little video first, okay? So come back in a minute.
Keep on, don't stop. Keep on, don't stop. Keep on, don't stop.
Angie, Joe, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having us.
So this is Joe's little sound room in the house. Yeah.
A man cave, yes.
A man cave. Well done, Joe. This is my studio space here. This is my room that I'm allowed to kind of do stuff with. I do not have the same amount of instruments, etc., that you have in that room. That this is predominantly space for doing recordings like this, a sofa bed which gets inhabited by one of my sons when he comes back from university, and a stereo. A great deal of vinyl and CDs and things like that.
Nice.
All right.
Good.
Which is nice. Okay. And possibly, I don't think I'm going the wrong way by saying this. I think every man should have one, if he can, in a house, should have this space, because
Absolutely
that way
agree.
it doesn't make the rest of the house a mess. Right? Because that's what it's all about. But can you just pan round, because you showed me just before we started.
Yeah.
You have quite a lot of equipment and guitars and.
So a couple of these he's built himself. So the
Wow.
one on the very end, the very woody looking one, was the Christmas present.
the latest one, yeah.
And he's managed to build that up from just a piece of wood, basically.
Fantastic.
Lots of pedals on the shelf there, as you can see.
Wow.
Amplifiers.
Yeah.
There's a drum kit behind us as well.
This
Yeah,
is the newest
amazing.
thing, actually. This is especially for Angie as well. It's a
Oh,
That's the new album is going
wow.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm
Toys.
a guitar on my knee.
Lots of toys, yeah.
Yeah.
Toys. So this is the substitute for a team of people writing your album in Nashville. Like, you know,
In a way.
You haven't got 72 people writing your album like Beyonce in Nashville.
No,
No.
it's a bit lyrically it's me. A lot of the great riffs are thanks to Joe. A lot of the production, all the mixing, and the recording has happened in here. Other than the drums are from a wonderful guy called Emiliano in Argentina. So
Wow.
thank you to websites and things like Fiverr that we discovered him. There's lots of drummers on there. I think we just fell into a very lucky situation where this guy is just phenomenal. He's got such a groove. I sent the first track over because Joe uses the electronic drum kit and just puts the kind of the demo together, and we sent it off. And when he sent it back, I cried because it sounded so unbelievable. Because my background's sound engineering, and I've done music my whole life, and I teach that as well. So in my opinion, that is something very hard to do, to put the drums on afterwards, after all the recording's been done. So I was very, very skeptical that it was going to work. And I held it off for such a long time to do that. And it came back and it was just like, oh my God. And the whole album has been done with Emiliano in Argentina.
Yeah.
That's
We went
incredible.
exponential from there. It sort of explained after we found that we could do this. And we actually trialed a couple of drummers, didn't we? And it was Emiliano's whole vibe that was like, well, this works then. We can do this remotely with musicians to fill in everything that we're not doing. So there's Emiliano on drums, and there's another piano player, there's a lap steel player, a pedal steel player. Not being in Nashville, it's hard to find pedal steel players. So it's
So remotely, I think this is partly why I think it's taken such a long time for me to be happy to get these songs out, because they just had to be perfect. And I was in no rush to have them be okay. I wanted them to be perfect. So to be able to find the right players, we've taken our time about it, and I think it was worth it. Paid off because they're such phenomenal players. There's a piano player from Italy that I found that's on the last track, Happy Ending. There's a wonderful guy I work with called John, who's actually in the same city as us, so that was easier to do as well. So he's played organ and Rhodes and piano on a couple of the tracks as well. So yeah, it's been a great experience. Honestly, it's blown me away.
So finally here,
yeah,
you are today.
Yes.
But and it's also the name of the album. How long's it taken from start to finish?
I mean, it's become the thing now, just to admit it, really, that it's taken so long. And there's just been so many dimensions of why it's taken so long to get here. But it was literally 25 years ago. That first song on the album called Heaven Knows, that was my first professional recording that I did. And
just track 12, not first song, but
yeah,
track 12.
Yeah, that's it, track 12. So it's just various things in those days. I think part of me wasn't writing the kind of music I wanted to write at that point. I was a nipper. I hadn't experienced much about life, perhaps as much as I have now. And as you probably know, recording and releasing was so much harder in those days to be able to do it yourself.
Yeah.
It's that, maybe, a little 21-year-old thinking, I'll get a record deal, I'll be able to do all that thing. And you just kind of hold off and hope that something will happen like that. Rather than now, the thing is, and how, what I teach, because I teach music, you do it yourself, and you can do it yourself, and very easily so, but obviously has meant a very oversaturated market, lots of music out there, and it's a lot harder to get noticed and seen and heard. But it's been a joy to be able to actually write the kind of music I want to write and be able to record and release it myself. So finally here, after all that 25 years worth of working hard.
Yeah. Oh, it definitely was that back in the day. Yeah. We used to go out, play gig after gig after gig, and, save all the 50p pieces, and eventually pay to go into a studio to put down 2 or 3 songs and fight, and get bored a lot. And then finally, you get your 2 or 3 songs and it be put on the tape.
Yeah.
As it were back then. And then you used to try and trawl it around all of the different record companies. And finally, if you were lucky, as we were or weren't, you get a record contract.
Yeah.
Which turns out not to be worth the paper it was written on. And then you go into legal wranglings for months on end, and then nothing really happens. So I think music's in a better place in a way these days. Would you not agree?
I would agree, yeah. I mean, obviously, I'd agree. I'm sat here chuffed to bits that we actually have this out there. And I think what I've been saying a lot in the last couple of weeks is I'm here for a good time, not for the big time. If anything comes of it, I'm having it. I'm taking it on with both hands. But I'm not here to try and be the next Taylor Swift or anything. It's the joy of the music is why I'm sat here. And the fact that we can do what we want to do with that music now is much easier. It's a much more nicer thing to teach as well, to give my students that kind of freedom to have that choice as well. So it's a joyous place to be over the fat cats being in charge of your music and, as you say, owning it and owning you. So yeah.
If what if a big Nashville artist heard your album though and decided I'd like that song for my own, would you say yes, or would it
I think being a songwriter above and beyond everything else, I mean, I've said I wrote a lot of stuff that I don't think suits me, so it's wanting to put that out there for somebody else. Maybe that would be the joyous step, I think, to be able to just write songs. Whatever happens with them, I'm writing songs, and that makes me happy, makes my little heart happy.
How many songs have you got on this album that are sat away somewhere?
There's 3 books downstairs on my piano, because this might be the man cave, but my writing domain, my laptop with Logic on it, is on my piano in what we call the music room. There's no telly in there. There's no telly allowed. Got all our vinyl in there, and my piano and a few more guitars. This isn't the exclusive collection.
The living room, isn't it? The
living room, yeah. So I sit down there. I've got like 3 A4 notepads just full of scribbles, and we're starting to write the next album. So I'm having even more song ideas of what's going to happen next. And it's just such a wonderful, exciting thing to sit and do and know that this is working. This is exciting. This can go somewhere.
You say you found your groove and your sound now with what you put out here. Will there be any changes between this album and the next album in terms of sort of sound, or what will you be experimenting with?
I think this finally here was my emotional life story, if you like. There's a lot of emotion in there. There's a lot of stuff that's happened over the last 20 years that I made lyrics happen from. I think I'm at a place now where I've kind of dealt with that. It's music is therapy, isn't it? That's certainly what it does for me. And I'm at a point now where I want to get on stage. I want to have a good time. I want some bigger, better, more awesome guitar riffs to have a party with. I want to play some festivals, or I just want to go that route now, I think. Not perhaps such the emotional, heart-wrenching, heartbreaking side of it, perhaps. But maybe bring a bit more of that country sound in as well, hence the what is it, lap steel?
That's a lap steel, yeah.
We've got a lap steel, so I'd like to bring just a little bit more production in from the sort of the country sound that seems to be exploding. I don't know what you think, but it's everywhere at the minute. Everybody's making these sounds that make me happy to listen to and be inspired by.
Oh, it's completely everywhere. I mean, you listen to an album by someone like Sabrina Carpenter. There's songs on there that are very much country songs as well as out and out pop produced songs as well. So, and country has had such a great time in the last couple of years. When I've talked to people about it, they've said it's because of the storytelling. Do you think that's the
absolutely?
The
yeah, you can go places, I think, with the lyrics, and it's the difference from perhaps when I was writing in my 20s that it rhymed and it sounded good, and the music, the way it sounded, was the most important thing in that point in my life. But now I need to have a story. I need to go somewhere with it. It needs to take you on a journey. I think that's very much side by side, isn't it, with country music? Perhaps all genres do have an element of that I'm not listening to enough, perhaps, but I think definitely the sort of country vibe. But it depends who you're talking about, because there are some country artists that I would totally not agree with in a sense of certain awards and things that have happened this year that, need to go back into the true genre and give them the accolade there. But, I won't get on my soapbox.
I don't think you need to say who that is. I think everybody can work it out for themselves.
Yeah. I mean, well done, but no.
Oh, well, I think it's great for those people to try stuff and get out there. Good for, perhaps just not win the awards for doing it.
Yeah.
At the same time.
For maybe the reasons aren't like the right reasons. It might be to do with the level of fame, let's say, perhaps,
or just the level of commercialism that they're trying to chase and go after. Difficult though, isn't it? Because I suppose when you're at the kind of the top of any kind of popularity contest game, you're going to try and look for the things that are really popular at the moment.
Yeah, well, that's it. I mean, there's an artist that we discovered, and more likely you discovered, Sierra.
Sierra Farrell. She picked up 4 Grammys. Pretty chuffed with that. She's awesome, and that's all about storytelling. It's all about her life. I think people really hear that what she sings about is what she's actually lived. So, and that's what country does a lot of the time. I think you can hear it in some pop music throughout the decades. We hear it in pop music, don't we? That something's popular, and then the everything else will sort of follow that, because record labels have recognized that that's popular. So quick, write songs with girls' names in them because they sold out. So but I think you can always hear when the truth's in there, whether you know what they're singing about or not. The truth's in there. Whether you know this person's biography or not, it should sort of resonate through.
Yeah. It's one thing Joe's really good at as a producer, and he, dare I say, he's blooming harsh as well, and it, breaks my heart sometimes when I show him something.
Joe,
and he has to believe you.
Yep.
Not this thing is like, if I don't believe what you're singing and what you're saying, then it's not working. And he's always been like that about watching artists or discovering new artists. If you can convince him that I mean what I'm saying, like through and through. So when my demos are brand new and I'm not really believing myself at that point, because it's just, you know, you're testing out some sounds.
Well, that's the Rick Rubin school of production, isn't it? I mean, he famously talks about, I don't make albums for the audience. I make them for me. You know, if they don't speak to me
on that, I think, you know, you're onto a winner. If you can always make music that you believe in yourself, then anything else is a bonus, isn't it? I think that's what I'll always stand on there.
And if it's got conviction and the songs are good and it's produced well and you like it and you love it, you're going to project that.
Yeah.
You know, everyone's going to project that. If you know it's a doozy, then everybody else is going to know it's a doozy somewhere along the lines.
It'll go in the B folder, maybe come back to it at another point.
Yeah, absolutely. But you know what nobody's done yet, which you could do with your combined talents, which is nobody's produced, and you've got the time to do this already. Nobody's produced a Christmas #1 that's country stroke doom metal, and you could do that.
That's niche.
That's very
niche.
It might just be niche enough to be genius.
It might. You could just have this massive, uplifting country kind of, you know.
I'm kind of like racking my brains to think what that might even sound like.
Down-tuned sweet melody.
Yeah.
I'm just imagining sort of like some uplifting, lilting kind of verses, all done country style, and then somewhere in the chorus, like, you know, heavy doom metal comes in, and just
I'll leave that to you then. Well, watch this space.
I'd love to see that for next Christmas. It could be really good. Look, if people can get songs about sausage rolls to #1 for Christmas, anything could happen, right?
And it's possible in the music industry,
Anything's possible, and we'd know it was a turn, and it would be fine, and you know. But you might just start something at the same time, which is you know, bringing people from different genres together, which is always good. In terms of that, I mean, Joe, you said just before you came on, you're in a kind of heavier band, etc. But don't you think audiences are much more sort of open in terms of what they listen to these days? I mean, we used to get into clans and used to not fight. Well, certain generations did used to fight over what music they listened to, but we certainly had like wore the uniform of what music we liked, and we probably wouldn't talk to those fans over there if they were listening to that back in the day. But these days people seem to listen to anything with a quite open mind. So, you know, do you think that helps?
I certainly notice, I think these days, unless I'm just, you know, too old to be in the culture of it, but aside from maybe like, you know, the goths persevering, which is good to see, you know, we'll still see the goths down Oasis Market here in Birmingham.
Yeah, but they all like pop as well.
They like all sorts. Yeah, they like all sorts. They like, you know, Billie Eilish is at the top of the charts, whereas goth music wasn't necessarily going to be up there in the past. And you know, me, I grew being a teenager in the late 90s and noughties, I was a grebo. So, and that absolutely defined who I was. I had to have gigantic jeans that were ripped and not wearing
That's right.
Yeah, actual waist and a Slipknot t-shirt and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, and you don't really see that sort of us and their mentality between like rock and electronic music anymore. There's a big blend of it.
It's got to be accessibility though, right? Because the major difference now is that you can access any song you like on your phone, and you can secretly perhaps listen to that stuff if you didn't want your cool mates to know that you're listening to Taylor Swift or anybody else, insert pop act here. And it's just it's kind of blurred the edges, hasn't it, a lot more than back in like our day, having to go into town and look on the right shelf in the CD store or in the record store. And it's made that a lot easy for everyone to just have music, not the kind of pockets, I suppose, of what we all used to listen to.
But I've kind of seen that through journalism as well, though. I mean, I think whereas when I was growing up, if you read a magazine that was of a particular genre, you know, if you read electronic sound or you read prog magazine or you read whatever, then it kind of, the journalism in there, it wouldn't reference stuff necessarily outside of that genre.
Yeah.
Whereas now, you know, I'm seeing a lot of protagonists from particular genres will talk openly about, oh yeah, but I love that record. And you know, and so I think as people sort of open up and they're more honest about it, you know, you don't tend to get those conversations like, you know, what's your guilty pleasure anymore, because everybody's guilty pleasure isn't guilty anymore. It's
the guilt's gone, thankfully.
Yeah. I mean, country was that thing, country in particular was that thing in the 90s, that it was a guilty pleasure. It was, I'm into anything but country. You'd see people listing on their MySpace anything but country, because it's, you know, that funny hillbilly stuff from out in the Midwest or whatever, and
or you don't dare admit you like Shania Twain.
Now it's front page. You don't dare admit you like Shania Twain, but somehow she sold millions of records, so someone listened to her. So let's all be honest about it.
I have a funny story about Shania Twain, actually, to back up what we've just said, because I went on holiday, one of those girly holidays you go on in your early 20s. And do you remember the days of mini disc players?
Yes, I do. Oh, I loved my mini disc.
Loved it, because you could make your own mixtapes and stuff with those. A lot easier than CDs. Anyway, I had like a bunch of those with me. I'm sorry, because you couldn't take millions with you, as you can now. I had about 10 or 12 with me on holiday, and we had our little hotel room broken into, and then it loads of stuff like dresses and mini disc player, mini discs. But they left the Shania Twain one in the middle of my bed. It was just sat there in the middle when we got in, and the place was ransacked. But Shania Twain was still there. So it kind of sums that up quite well, doesn't it? That everyone listened to Shania Twain. Like,
did you write and tell her?
I didn't know.
You know what she'd say?
Go on.
You know what? That doesn't impress me much.
Oh, yes. Sorry.
She would. She would have done. You know, she would have done. Oh dear. But I mean, she's obviously ridden the wave with this as well. She's made a big comeback in the last years or two. Who else, you know, along the way has been an inspiration to you musically? Maybe that we wouldn't necessarily associate with the sound that you make.
I mean, I've always got to go to Fleetwood Mac as being my ultimate, you know, it's just growing up listening to that. And then the track on the album, Break Me, I wanted to create something that had that kind of almost a little bit kind of experimental. It's got this little experimental section in there, but all the harmonies and everything that happens on that album, because I've just been in love with hearing their sound for so long, all those layers of vocals, that's where I go to first. When I'm putting a demo together, there's about 19 different vocal takes on there to try out the different things and see what kind of sound I can land on, because I just think it's such a gorgeous sound having all those vocals, like all the guitar licks and the storytelling and everything in there as well. So Fleetwood Mac is where my heart is the most, which is not really country, is it? There's kind of bluesy and perhaps a little bit of Americana in there, perhaps, for Fleetwood Mac's sound. But I suppose for this album, I wanted to just create songs, and I always loved that kind of country vibe in there. But if it didn't land on some of them, then that was fine. This was what I wanted the song to sound like.
Yeah.
So, you know,
Fleetwood Mac, but without the relationship troubles. Hey, Joe. I mean, which again goes back to why you need a man room. Really, it's just, you know, some time out occasionally is always good, isn't it? If Fleetwood Mac had had more men rooms, they might not have had so many hits. You never know.
Yeah.
Could have been a completely different story. You know, rumours might have just been, well, it's okay. Instead,
well, does any like great song come about from just an all right, okay, everything's all right kind of life? You know, you got to have a bit of drama in there to create some of those better lyrics and the storytelling, I think, which is, you know, kind of the thing. You don't want to ever be too happy, because you're going to actually write any decent songs from that.
Okay, but you are happy now. So,
I am happy, yeah.
So where do you look?
Drama in everyone's life, though, right? You know.
Yeah. So going forward, where are you looking for your inspiration? What in terms of writing? What
I think I'm still writing from life, really. There's a few new songs that I've penned in the last month or two. And, you know, one's pretty heartbreaking. Another one's just a bit about drinking, because can you be a country artist without doing a song about drinking? So, you know, I've got a lot of inspiration listening to some new stuff. So I'm like...
The trick is always to mention a particular brand in there, though, so you get some sponsorship.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'll go back to the lyrics then. But yeah, so I think it will always be a part and parcel of it, because, you know, that bit's kind of left the scar on your heart, hasn't it, really? So you always dig in and see what else you can write about. But listening to loads of other artists, really, I'm just kind of trying to take inspiration from the sound as well as the story that is happening in other people's music, really. Yeah, see what happens. Just, you know, when it comes to you just try and make it work.
It's brilliant. Well, listen, thank you so much for coming and talking about your music today, both of you.
Having us.
Thank you.
No, it's an absolute pleasure. Hopefully you might send something to go on the board, which we have behind us here. This is the My Music board. All of these people have been on the past. And we will be inviting you into the My Music community as well.
Excellent, thank you.
Well.
Thank you very much.
So, along with lots of other musicians that have already joined, which is great, so that people can continue the conversation with you outside of this. But if people want to support you, A, have you got any gigs coming up? And B, where can they go and buy?
Okay, so little plug moment then, right? Our first live show is going to be on the 5th of April at the Gig in Birmingham. We're actually competing for the opening slot of this year's Summerfest in Solihull. So it's a little bit of a battle of the bands situation there. So we're on second on the 5th of April.
The venue is called The Gig.
The Gig,
If that was missed in there, because it sounds
See, that's quite confusing, isn't it? But yeah,
the venue is called The Gig. Where is it? Acox Green?
It's in Acox Green, yeah. So, yeah, it's going to be first time any of these songs I've met a stage. Not played anything live just yet. We've been doing rehearsals. We've got next few weeks to finish up with the rehearsals. We've brought quite a bit of tech kit into it now. So, hoping to really create an awesome sound on that stage. So, people can follow me on Instagram, Angie Keys 1, putting out loads of stuff on there about the gigs and the shows and everything else that comes about. And then on there, you can link to actually buying a CD if people are into that old school way of having music. I'm going to be putting vinyl on there as a link as well. So I shall be on vinyl and obviously streaming on all platforms as the usual new way to do these things.
Oh yes, absolutely. So go and stream. Get into the groove, as it were.
And come say hi on Instagram. I'm very happy to have conversations with anybody.
Absolutely. Straight after this, I shall be adding some songs from your album to the My Music podcast playlist.
Yeah, Brave has just been on radio this last few weeks as well. So
Brave is
track
the single.
5 has been getting some decent attention on radio. So I'm really, really happy with that because I worked so hard on that particular song. I knew it was in my head and it had to come out of my head exactly as I imagined it, and it did. And it's always awesome when that works.
Well, we shall continue to push it for you.
Thank you.
And see what we can do. But hopefully, folks, you've now enjoyed the conversation with Angie and Joe. And if you'd like to continue to support Angie and her musical quest, please do go to her Instagram, follow her, have a conversation with her, and also, you know, spend some money because it's good for you. It's really good for you. You'll feel so much better at the end of the day.
See you at a show soon. That'll be awesome as well. Come and say hi if you come and watch.
Well, go. Have you got a name for your fans?
I haven't. No. I'm not there yet.
No.
It's something. I don't.
Yes, well, it's really important to do. It's really important to do. We made a fun little band up one year at a festival, and we were called Rodney's Cocktails. There's a long story. I can't tell it now. But we decided that our fans should be called the Mexicans. Again, long story. Can't really tell you why, but all of our fans did turn up at the stage dressed as Mexicans.
That is brilliant.
With sombreros and and little moustache. It was really good. So maybe come up with a name for your fans. Let everybody know, and tell them what they need to wear to come and support you for your Battle of the Bands.
Well, I'm gonna just put this out there now. If you want to wear flares, I'll be in flares. That's my thing. I love wearing a good pair of denim flares. Let's bring back the flares and keep them here.
The flares, right? If you want to be a part of the flares, then let us know. And there's a dog as well.
And there he is.
So he likes that
to make
idea.
an-
He had to
make
have
an
a
appearance.
moment.
The dog has voted. The dog has voted. Folks, this has been amazing. Angie Keys and Joe, thanks for coming on today. Thanks so much for taking part in this. You've been listening to my music. If you like this, press all the buttons that you need to press in order to share it and whatever else. And come and join the community. It's a fantastic place to hang out. And you can talk to people about music. I'm teaching digital skills in there. Other people are teaching things about finance. And it's just an amazing thing to support anybody who's a musician and loves music as well. What a great idea. And you can catch up with that at mymusicpodcast.com. We'll be back soon with more of the same. But until then, from me and my guest today, bye for now.